When you meet Mike Pence, he's all-American heartland, from a cornfield to Congress and now governor.
I don't ever remember even imagining that this grandson of an Irish immigrant would ever have the chance to lead my state as governor.
And he's making the most of the opportunity with an approval rating over 60% and one of the top economies in the nation.
Indiana is open for tech business once again. We are grateful for your leadership and your vision.
The numbers show a conservative blueprint for success. 7 straight months of job growth with unemployment under 6%, leading the nation in new manufacturing jobs, plus throw in tax cuts and a budget surplus for good measure.
There's no rocket science to it. We're just putting into practice those common sense principles of living within our means, letting people keep more of what they earn.
The Republican Party is taking notice. Some GOP bigwigs are courting Pence, and the governor is listening. They see him as an ideal presidential candidate. Pro-life Christian, strong on social issues, a hawk on defense, and economically conservative.
Governor Mike Pence and the First Lady of Indiana headed overseas today on a foreign trade mission.
He's taking his platform to the international stage, and he's going to speak at national GOP functions, stoking presidential interest even further.
All right, now look, every time we speak, I always have to ask you a president. You know I'm going to ask you a presidential. We did this last time. We always do this.
Just a couple years ago, Congressman Pence and I discussed a 2012 presidential run right there in his D.C. office after he won a conservative straw poll.
This is the part of the interview where I ask you the obligatory 2012 question, and this is the obligatory part where you just say, oh, you know, honored to be considered. So let's just go through the formalities here. All right.
So here we are again, 2 years later, trying to figure out a more unique way to pop the question.
Forget about what you think. When Karen and the family hear these, they read the newspaper, they have Google, don't they? What do they think? Forget about you.
Well, I can tell you, any time that I'm mentioned for the highest office in the land is it's a humbling and an encouraging thing for me and for my family. But our focus is on Indiana.
He's also keenly aware that the best solutions need to come from outside the Beltway.
And I'm absolutely convinced that the cure for what ails this country is going to come more from our nation's state capitals than it ever will from our nation's capital. There are just things that states will always be able to do better.
And Pence has his hands full proving that. One challenge is Obamacare.
I think Obamacare needs to be repealed lock, stock, and barrel.
Pence says he won't take available federal money to expand Medicaid here unless it's done the Indiana way.
We're not interested in expanding traditional Medicaid. But if we could, in effect, end traditional Medicaid in Indiana for virtually all of our citizens and replace it with the kind of consumer-driven health care enshrined in the Healthy Indiana plan, that we would be open to that.
Some conservatives criticize Pence for even considering to take the federal money. The Federalist website says, quote, there is really nothing all that conservative about the state-specific plans to capture federal dollars earmarked for Medicaid expansion. The Healthy Indiana plan is popular with Hoosiers, though, because it sets up personal health savings accounts. Pence touts it as a national model.
In a word, Indiana has proven in the last 6 years that consumer-driven health care works.
The other big issue, education and Common Core. Pence picked up praise for making Indiana the first state to opt out of the controversial national curriculum, but critics complain that his new standards look a lot like Common Core. Influential conservative Michelle Malkin says Pence's attempts to mollify critics by rebranding and repackaging shoddy Common Core standards is fooling no one.
Whatever differences people might have on the standards that we've produced, there's no doubt these were written by Hoosiers for Hoosiers. And the debate now ultimately is happening here in the state of Indiana where it belongs.
One item not up for debate, his faith.
Just about each and every day, I like to start out my day with a little bit of time in the book, a little bit of time in prayer. And that's become even more important to me as I've shouldered the responsibilities of this office.
Pence gave his life to Jesus as a college freshman, and now as governor, he's mindful of Solomon's prayer in 1 Kings 3, where it says, Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, that I may discern between good and evil. For who is able to govern this your great people?
It's a prayer I pray often, that for a discerning heart to distinguish between right and wrong. For as he asked, who is able to govern this great people of yours?
And in Indiana, it's Governor Pence for such a time as this. David Brody, CBN News, in Indianapolis, Indiana.